Good day. Here are the top stories of the Manila Times for Thursday, November 19, 2020. President Rodrigo Duterte unleashed his ire on Vice President Maria Leonor Leni Robredo, whom he accused of lying about his whereabouts while Typhoon Ulysses was pounding Luzon. During a public briefing on Tuesday night, the president said, quote, "I would like to just give caution to the vice president. She made a blunder, a big one, and she practically lied, making her incapable of truth." He said Robredo knew where he was while the hashtag Nasaan ang Pangulo trended on Twitter. Duterte slammed Robredo for grandstanding during the calamity. The president also said he gave orders days before the typhoon hit the country. Supreme Court Associate Justice Marvic Mario Victor Leonen on Tuesday warned his fellow magistrates that they could be sanctioned for leaking documents to the Manila Times. Unimpeachable sources said Leonen was irked by the stories that came out in the Times on his draft reflections on the poll protest case filed by former Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. against Vice President Robredo. On Tuesday, he warned his fellow justices that leaking results of international deliberations and draft rulings of the High Court can be punished because it violates the confidentiality rule of the tribunal. In other news, customers of Maynilad Water Services Incorporated in Metro Manila and Cavite will continue to have a little to no water supply until next week. Maynilad started implementing on Tuesday, November 16, a rotational water service interruption lasting for 6 to 19 hours. It said this will end on November 24. The company said it was forced to cut supply because of the high volume of sludge that entered its water treatment plants caused by the recent typhoons. In business, authorities must implement the necessary strategies to ensure the smooth transition of the Philippines' financial system to the so-called new economy, according to a Financial Stability Coordination Council or FSCC report released on Wednesday. In its Financial Stability Report for the second half of 2020, the Interagency Council warned that there would be uncertainties on the road toward the new economy, saying, quote, "Authorities need to address this so that all stakeholders can make informed choices of their own transition." One suggestion is for authorities to define the market landscape for the new economy as a prerequisite. On top of world news, China has been prepared for a, quote, "final act of the madness" from the Trump administration and its staged hysteria on China-related issues, as it is highly likely that the incumbent United States president will take much more extreme measures on issues such as the South China Sea, the island of Taiwan and China's high-tech sector, the moves which are also seen as, quote, "setting obstacles for Biden in his foreign policies," experts said. After imposing new restrictions on U.S. investment in 31 Chinese companies and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's remarks of denying Taiwan Island is part of China, U.S. President Trump will enact a series of hardline policies during his final 10 weeks, including a crackdown on China over so-called forced labor in Xinjiang, as well as sanctions on officials and companies with connections to Hong Kong, according to U.S. news site Axios.com. In sports, there was no dancing on the court after a March Madness victory. No bounding onto the stage in a spiffy suit to meet the commissioner in June. The coronavirus pandemic wiped out the traditional end of a college career and the usual start of a pro one. Players such as Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and James Wiseman should be about a month into their rookie seasons by now, but their plans were put on hold. After multiple delays, the NBA draft finally arrives on Thursday in Manila. Like everyone else in 2020, this year's class of players has tried to make the best of their difficult circumstances. Yen Macabenta and Ramon Tulfo are the Times featured columnists on the front page. Macabenta writes unconstitutional health for America and quarantine without end in the Philippines, while Tulfo writes avarice caused the floods in Cagayan and Isabela. Read the full version of the editorial in the paper's opinion section or listen to the Voice of the Times. In its editorial, Times talks about the two levels of journalism, reporting, and analysis. In light of the issue of a certain journalist who has, over the past few months, established a niche by publishing an annotated point-by-point summaries of President Duterte's weekly talks to the nation. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print. Subscribe to its digital edition or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And keep up with the times.